What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back, and I just got a quick couple announcements before we get to today's tutorial. Mickey Serrano, I've been looking for him like Jaquan, and I can't get a hold of this guy. And of course, he's the one that won the Oster Fast Feed Homefront Edition. Want to reach out to him, and I want to give him this clipper, but he has not claimed it. So I think I need to make some new rules to these contests. You got a week to claim it, or I'm going to give it away again. So I'm going to give this dude 7 more days, and if he don't claim it, well, guess what? We're giving the Oster Fast Feeds away again. And you're going to want to subscribe because shortly I'm going to be giving away this 50 cal from Caliber. The Caliber company was gracious enough to give this to me to give away to one of you guys. So within one of the next few uploads, I'm definitely going to be giving this thing away. Also, I'll be on the podcast live at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday, broadcasting straight out of Naples, Florida, and we will be talking about all the stuff that's going on in our industry at MMA Barber Life. His channel is dope. His name is I Do It Barber. If you haven't checked him out, go and check him out. But yeah, anything that you might want to ask us, you guys can ask us live and we'll get an answer right for you. So yeah, please come on over and check us out on that podcast live. All right, you guys, let's get to this tutorial. Okay, we're going to begin this fade with the Oster Octane 5 zeros, and we are going to knock this bulk out. Anybody who's still balding out with the trimmers, do it when it makes sense, like around the ear and stuff like that. But if you want to get it done quick and the barbers around you are constantly beating you in speed, this is certainly one place where you can pick up the pace. And I hear a lot of people say that, they don't have the money for a detachable and this and that, but it really boils down to commitment. And if you are going to commit to this business, you have to figure for the day that you're going to be busy, where you have to accommodate more customers. And of course, a machine like this is going to pay for itself. So depending on your level of commitment, you're probably going to want to look into one of these machines eventually. Now, if you're still handling a very small amount of clientele, of course you can get by with a trimmer. And if you have to, you got to do what you got to do. So all we're going to do is we're going to knock out the skin on one side, and I actually really like to just jump straight over to the other side once I reach about the middle, and I'll just go ahead and I'll connect the two. A lot easier it will be to make sure that your skin line is even all the way around if you give yourself that little bit of leeway and jump to the other side of the head, and then it's going to be very simple for you to connect both parts. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and shave right around the ear because sometimes it just makes more sense to use a razor here when the hair is just lying really close to the ear and you want to get behind that and you just want this to be balded out. A lot of times I'll just go ahead and I'll do it like that. So we're coming in with the Bronze Series 9, another expensive machine that's well worth its weight in gold, very good for sensitive skin, and we are going to be coming up towards that line and flicking away. I'm going to start releasing tension as soon as I get near that 5-0 line that I created. And I want to make sure that you guys do the same so that you can achieve the exact same result. You can press as hard as you want and get as close as you want. But when you get to that line, it's got to be smooth. We want no line in between those two steps. And we're going to begin with the open taper. I'm using the 50 cal, and the 50 cal is very good for blending. It really performs well, and a lot of people talk to me about how they have trouble with it cutting in the beginning. And I've told you guys I had that trouble too, but after you take it apart, you clean it up a little bit, and you get some of that factory grease off. Once you start working with these more and more, they really start to break in nice, and they really become a great tool, and it's pretty much replaced everything that I used to keep on my station. And it also has that cordless feature that it can run for 4 hours straight, so you could use this thing for a long time. But we are going to just create this guideline about 1 inch and give yourself enough room, and make sure that you're using this kind of crisscross motion that I'm using, because you want to get that level exactly down to the open taper length so that you can have that distance that's required by the manufacturer. Also, I have a zero gapping video on this, and if yours is not set up properly, you might struggle with this. So just make sure that it is all the way zero gap properly. And we're going to begin this crisscross motion where I am just clicking it down 1 click at a time and staying a little bit lower than I was as I come down. So we're going to begin with it all the way open, 1 click, go a little bit lower, and I'm kind of using just 1/2 of the blade, or I'm keeping it slightly on an angle as I work, and that cuts down the possibility of me making another line, which obviously you don't want to do that. That will be counterproductive, and you want to make sure that you put it in nice. Now, if there is any residual once you're done with this step, you're going to go back in with your trimmers and go ahead and just knock away any of that. I keep one pair of trimmers that is very close for just this purpose if I need it. Most of the time with the 50 cals, I don't actually need to do this step. So I'll jump forward and to the number 1 open, and I'm gonna simply just begin repeating my same steps. Now you wanna try to stay against the grain as much as possible in this case, because you just wanna make sure that you're getting that intended length. So you're holding it flush, you're holding it flat. I've described it in many different times, and I think I've seen a lot of my students do a lot of leaving the head. Like they'll be pulling the clipper away from the head. Keep it anchored and keep rocking on the head and follow that curvature of the scalp and keep it flush. And we are going to begin clicking it 1 click at a time, and we're going to use this crisscross pattern where it is slightly angled and we're moving back and forth. Now I know that at times during this video you might see that it doesn't look like I'm angled, and in those cases most of the time I'm only touching down half of the blade, and I realize that that's a little bit difficult to capture. But we are just going to begin clicking it down and coming down little by little. Now you'll also notice that I skipped the half guard, and many of you guys know why I skipped the half guard, because I mean, if you just look at the blend how it is right now, I've managed to get a pretty good blend by just skipping that half guard, which means that I really only need the half guard for a very small amount of residual, and I'm going back in and I'm going to detail out that residual. Now I cut hair since 2003, and we didn't always have this half guard, and the way that we used to get it done before was going straight to that number 1 and coming back to that open taper and then doing a little detailing there. But with that half guard, it's an overlapping blade, so you're not going to need to use it quite as much unless you want your fade to wind up a little bit too high. So now we're going to the 1.5, and I'm repeating the same steps. I have it open and I'm going to begin closing it, and slowly you're going to start to see this blend comes out. Now there is a factor here that I want to mention, and that's just going back before you go forward. So before I jump over to that other side of the head and I'm leaving myself a whole bunch of detail work, I want to avoid leaving myself extra work towards the end, and that's why I'm very thorough. I will step back a step if need be before I go forward. So when you complete this step, it's very likely that you're going to have to go back to the number 1. So you want to meet those 2 steps. You got the 1.5 open, and then you close it, and then being that you weren't able to get everything, yes, you're probably going to have to go back to the number 1. So never be afraid to repeat that process and hop back to that nest and hop back to that last step before you move forward. And that's just something that I do all the time. I like to be really thorough when I perform these blends, and that's pretty much how I'm always getting it done. Now's a great time to go in and just do a little bit of detailing work. This would be like similar to texturizing, just using kind of the corner of the blade and going in there and touching up any of those spots that don't look perfect. And once you've done that, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put in this line, because she likes to wear this line on the one side here. And it's very similar to other haircuts that I've talked about, where it's just really imperative that you understand how to blend from 2 to skin, and then basically 2 to clipper over comb on top in the other circumstances where the client wears the hair differently on the top. So that's kind of how I break it down. And if you've ever looked at your hard parts and you notice that there's a bunch of little hairs sticking out on the part, you kind of got to get that front view so that you can see in a nice light background where you can see any of those hairs that are maybe out of place. Going through there with them scissors and detail that off so that you don't have a bunch of little hairs sticking off of your hard part. And of course there's 2 parts to your hard part. You do the top line, and then you're going to want to do the line going the opposite way to get that line extra clean. And use your blade carefully in this piece use your blade carefully here, because it's very easy to cut somebody. Make sure that you're using a little bit of shave gel or something, and I'm just doing a tiny bit at a time. And of course you could lay your blade flat and try to take out more hair, but that's going to cause extra drag on the razor. So really, you notice how I start from the beginning and I'm just using a tiny bit at a time, and I'm moving forward. So here we are, we got the fade complete, and this is a relatively great head of hair to work with. It's really a joy to have her in my chair, and I hope that you guys learned something. I'm glad you guys checked this video out, and real soon I'm going to be back with another video for you, and it is Mr. Eddie Barber, and I'm out of here. And you're going to want to click subscribe, because we're giving some stuff away very soon. So please click that like, click that subscribe button, help me out a little bit, and I'll be back at you real soon with another video. I'm out.